Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of the pre-season tour of FDT-TV. As always, I am Mike, but I'm not. I am Ian. I'm joined by Mike. It's been hot. It's been hot.
Yeah,
so,
I was just about to
you
say,
can excuse the brain.
You can be forgiven.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on with the world? I suppose it's probably a good thing because it means that the players are going to be ready for Qatar.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely. Well and truly prepared.
Yeah. You can't.
Where are you boys in your pre-season?
A little bit all over by the looks of it. I mean, we played Rangers last night at Ibrox. Didn't go too well, I have to say. 0-0 at half time. Final score 3-1. Tom Lawrence, who's just signed from Derby, scored. And set up one for Rabbi Matondo, who I thought we should have signed a couple of years ago. He's still a young guy. I think he's like 21, but fabulous winger and tore Cresswell apart, unfortunately, when he came on. And also, our new signing, Agurd. No, I said about Agurd defender. Went off injured. They thought he'd broke his ankle because it swelled up like a balloon after a horrible challenge. It's not broken, but they reckon he might have done his ligaments, so he could be out for some fair time. 30 million signing.
So it turns out it wasn't a good signing. Oh, mate, that's tragic.
Even better, the season is looming. Yeah, how far away is it now? It's not far. What, 2 weeks to the kick-off? We still haven't got a striker. So I don't want to say that that's a bad thing, but we still haven't got a striker. Apparently, we were in advanced talks with Beresia from Chelsea, but still paper talk. It's all paper talk. But on a more positive note, Arsenal have been playing pretty well in the pre-season, have they not?
Yes, they've done really well. We've had 2 games already. Do you know what? I can't even remember who we played in the first game. Bear with. Oh, yes, I can. It's FC Nuremberg in Germany.
Yep.
We were 2-0 down, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, here we go. And granted, it was a very mixed squad in the first half. And then it was a very mixed squad in the second half as well. But Gabby Jesus come on, scored one, resulted in an own goal, resulted in another own goal, and scored another one. And Mohamed El Neni, mate, absolute banger. If you get a chance to watch it, it must be about 30, 35 yards out.
I've already seen it, mate. I've already seen it.
Absolute belter of a goal. Then we had our second game midnight on Saturday against Everton out in America. And we won 2-0. Very, very confident performance again. Damage was done in the first half. I've got to be honest, considering it was a pre-season friendly, I think Everton were going in a bit nutty boy, and you can tell, or you could sense that Dele Alli wanted to cause someone some injury because he was playing like an absolute knob. And a couple of their players were coming in with nutty boy challenges as well, which was a little bit stupid. But we saw the Gabby Jesus on the score sheet again, and I can't remember who got the second one. We're well prepared for this. Well prepared. Someone else got another goal.
I think it was Saka with a little knock in, wasn't it? At the far post.
Who was that?
Wasn't it Saka?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes.
Don't miss a trick, me.
No, definitely not. It was. It definitely was Saka. And then we've got another game tonight against Orlando FC. But that's on at 12:30 tonight, so I definitely won't be staying up to watch that one. I'll catch the highlights at some point tomorrow. Plus, this is a little bit disgusting. Last year, what Arsenal did, they did for anyone that renewed their membership before X date, you get all the games for the pre-season that you can stream.
Yep.
This year, they're charging £5.99 per game. Or you can use some of your membership points. So they do like a points reward system now. So last year, you could buy like the membership pack with your rewards points and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
But your rewards points effectively It's like 250 points to watch a game, and that's effectively your points for the season gone.
Oh,
it's ridiculous. And I think the membership pack's like 1,000 points this year. It's a joke. So on that side of things, not impressed. But I've got to say, their new shirt come out on Monday. It's an absolute beauty. I love it. I love it. I love it. And then we've obviously got the home shirt there. Trying to work out my bearings. Yeah, two very nice kits again. And I'd actually go as far as to say is this is possibly one of my favourite kits that we've had.
Well,
away kits anyway.
Yeah, that's just what I was just saying to you, that actually having seen our boys play a little bit, and West Ham are streaming all of their matches through the app. It's not always the best quality, but they're streaming them, and they seem to be free all the pre-seasons. But I don't think I like our home kit. It's all right. When I see it originally, like the fan version of it that someone bought, I thought that looks poorly made, and then I see it sort of in the shop, and I was like, okay, it looks a little bit better. But then having watched it, it's like it's just missing something.
Can I ask you a question just in relation to your replica kits?
Yeah.
So for us, for the last few years now, they're doing a replica shirt, and then they're doing like a player issue shirt. Are your boys doing the same?
Not that I know of.
See, I don't get this. It's like 70 quid for the replica shirt or £100 for the player issue shirt.
So
you know me, I love a football shirt. Every shirt since 1985 hanging up in that closet. Every shirt. Bar one, which is rare than rocking or shit, and I'm not spending £1,000 on it. Yeah. Loads so obviously I follow quite a few football shirt enthusiasts on social media. Check out our social medias in the description. Yeah, but there seems to be kind of like a snobbery now about whether you've got a replica shirt or a player issue shirt.
I've not noticed that. I mean, the first time I come across that was actually in rugby, for England rugby, and the replica shirt for the fan is just made out of sort of normal fabric. The other one's meant to have like the Gore-Tex breathable armpits, and so I don't see the benefit in paying the extra unless you're
playing.
Yeah, and even then, I would have to question the impact athletically that it has. Okay, it might be cooler to wear that one, like in terms of body temperature, but other than that, I can't see what the benefit would be. I think in some senses it's just that, oh, we'll do this one. It's a little bit more special, and people will buy it.
And that is there. I mean, their key differences. So I think last year's shirt or the year before, there were subtle differences between the two shirts. So obviously you've got your climate cool fabrics and all this sort of stuff. But I think one of the biggest differences was the way that the badges were made.
Right. Okay.
So on this one, you've just got a normal stitching job. But for the player issue ones, they're kind of like heat pressed. Now, I've had issues with heat press shirts or heat press badges before, 2014, I think, around about that sort of time, when you put the shirt through the wash, and, well, obviously a few times, but the badge decided it wants to kind of flake away or whatever. But so I never really wanted to do that. And obviously I'll wear the shirts a few times a season, depending on whether we're playing home away or alternative or whatever. So I don't really see the need to spend that additional. Plus, I haven't got the physique for it. Let's be honest. I'm 37 years old. I do not have the physique to be wearing some tight-fitted, tailored bad boy. So I'll just go for a large. Stick me in it, bosh.
The same, mine are tight-fitted regardless. They're not...
What's that?
Mine are tight-fitting regardless.
Yes, because you're massive, mate. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like your club.
I don't think we will be this season. Like it's going to be interesting, I think, because the sort of the GSB out brigade can't moan they haven't spent any money this year. We have spent money. We've spent money on Flynn, 12 million on Flynn Downs. It was like 7 million on Areola, 30 million on a Good, apparently 30 million on this Berija. The newest name is Dwight McNeil from Burnley. It looks like that's like 15 million quid. So they can't say that they've not spent the money, because they have. Doesn't mean that will bring performances. I think that's going to be the next issue. I mean, against Rangers in the first half, Antonio should have had a few. I mean, I like Antonio. He's our top goal scorer, but he's not a striker. He's not a striker. He's filling the gap. He's a good player, but there's a bit like, say, what you struggled with last year, that out-and-out striker role where someone needs to know where the goal is. And I think Jesus will fill that gap. He looked hot on the heels of, say, when Everton were playing out from the back, he was pressing from the front already. So, I mean, I've put him in my fantasy team alongside Haaland, I will say that. But, yeah, I think he's going to do well for you this season.
I hope so. Have you seen this? This is one thing that's getting on my... In fact, I've got two things I want to bring up tonight.
Okay.
And one of them is just an observation that we've seen on social media. Obviously, I know there's... Or the tweets that I'm going to be able to see are kind of more relevant to the sorts of things that you're looking at, obviously with the algorithms and all that sort of stuff. But one of the things I wanted to bring up was the hate that I'm seeing from opposition fans towards some of the signings that we're getting. Notably, Gabriel Jesus is one of them.
Yep.
And a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing from opposition fans is couldn't even get into the Manchester City team when they needed a striker, blah, 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 blah. Now, I kind of get it, but when you've got a squad as Manchester City have, it's going to be difficult for people to get game time at any point.
Yep.
Unless you're absolutely nailed on 100%. But I'm not being funny. They could have won the league with their second squad.
Oh, yeah, they could have.
Or their second 11. And it just seems to be, again, it's obviously just because of the sorts of stuff that I'm looking at. When you look at the likes of Richarlison signing for Tottenham, I think he only scored something stupid like 6 goals or something last year, or in the last 2 years. I know he's had injuries and stuff as well, which has kind of kept him out for a little bit. But when I'm seeing the kind of, or the negativity, and again, it's probably just down to good old fashioned banter rivalry. But I don't understand how anyone can say that Richarlison is going to be a better striker than Jesus.
I mean, before you even mentioned Richarlison, I was going to say, is this from Tottenham fans? And I think
not just Tottenham fans. There's been quite a bit of Man United as well.
So the Man United, I think, are worried that actually they can't sign anyone and Ronaldo wants to leave. So I think that's got them a little bit riled up. We've got a new manager. We're really big again. Don't think you are. In terms of Tottenham, I think the issue there is Jesus was pipped to sign for them originally, and chose not to. So I think that excitement then goes to hatred, regardless, because like if you look back at their history, you probably find somewhere there's a deleted tweet saying how good Jesus is and he's going to add to the squad and he'll score 20 goals. Oh, he signed for Arsenal. Well, he's shit then, isn't he? I think it's a little bit of that sort of short-sightedness. I like Richarlison as a player. I think he'll play a good backup to Harry Kane. He's one of those players, I think, that can put in a 10. When he puts in a 10 out of 10, unplayable. But he needs to find that consistency, because he'll put in 6 5s, a 6, then an 8, a 9, and then back down to so you only get a few good games out of him a season, which is why I think maybe playing second fiddle might be a good idea. but still a good player. Just he's not gone there to play every game, is he?
No, I know. And just to draw back on something you just mentioned there about finding that level of consistency, I don't understand how you're going to find that level of consistency with or playing second fiddle. It's the same with, as I mentioned, with Eddie Nketiah. We had a conversation a few weeks ago saying, is he going to sign his new contract? Is he going to get regular football? Now, there must be some sort of guarantee with him and the upper echelons for him to have signed his new contract. Obviously, wages are going to be part of it as well, but obviously with the signing of Gabriel Jesus, and I think the logic must be somewhere nowadays where we've got the 5 substitutes rule. Effectively, you are going to need your 2 squads obviously combining at that time. So I suppose in a sense your players are going to be fresher because they could be substituted earlier and you can make more of them. So just going back to what my point is because we've got the World Cup this year and because obviously we've got the 5 substitute rule, do you reckon that Richarlison will get more game time to reduce fatigue and maybe improving that level of consistency?
Quite possibly. I think that the substitutes will come into it. I think it could be the case that with Richarlison, obviously Conte's he's not new at winning stuff. He knows how to win trophies. He knows how to win leagues. And he will use those 5 substitutes to his advantage. I don't think he'll necessarily make them all every game. I think if he thinks there's a tactical advantage to be had, he'll use it. You could see Tottenham sort of play like a 4-2-2-2 effectively. Sort of 2 defensive midfielders, 2 wingers, 2 strikers. The fact that he can play out on the wing as well gives some backup to Son and Kuleveski. Because they've sold Bergwijn, I think Moura's gone, or if not, he's on loan. So they're lacking in sort of real depth. I think Jack Clark's gone out as well. So there's not a lot of depth in those wide areas for Tottenham. So I think he'll be utilised more there. But yeah, I think you might be right there. And I think that's the same with Nketiah. I think you could see in those games where last year you were struggling to score or produce anything in front of goal, I think you could see 2 up top with Jesus and Nketiah playing together. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I'm just trying to think, will we see sort of that return of the 3 at the back with the 2 wing backs? Because it worked a fair few seasons ago for Conte at Chelsea. And it was Conte at Chelsea that did that, wasn't it? And then sort of everyone sort of utilised it for a couple of seasons, then it sort of went out of the way, and you see it every now and again. But I feel like this season you could see that sort of style of play come back. But yeah, the 5 substitutes can make for an interesting one. I think you're going to see the big clubs sort of muller some of the smaller clubs. You think, when you go, okay, Bernardo Silva's tired, let's bring on Mahrez. Okay, De Bruyne's tired, let's bring on Foden. Rodri's tired, let's bring on Calvin Phillips. Do you know what I mean? Like the squads that have got the ability to have depth and quality, just going to be unbeatable. There's going to be a huge pull away, and I think it's one of those rules that, without changing like the financial rules of things, benefits big clubs. It keeps big clubs on top. Because I think, as you've seen over the last couple of seasons, that gap between the big clubs and sort of those that potentially float around to sort of upper mid-table is getting closer and closer and closer. I mean, we almost upset the apple cart this year. I was going to say Everton did, but they didn't. But do you know what I mean? You've got those clubs that are always there or thereabouts, that if they have a good season, could ping up. But, especially like last year, we struggled to fill a bench out last year. If we do that, if 5 substitutes were in last year, we wouldn't have finished where we finished. which is why I think we're spending a bit of money. We've got lots of defenders this year, a couple of like midfielder, no striker. Not that I'm bitter about it, but do you know what I mean? We're trying to build a little bit more squad depth as well as bringing in some quality. But
that's certainly something I've noticed for us as well in terms of the squad depth. It's something that we've been crying out for, I suppose, with the lack of quality within our squad. So we've had numbers, we've just not had strength in numbers, if that makes sense. So there was always going to be that clear out process. And I think with the lack of signings in January last year, there was obviously a plan in place in order to pull those resources and go in for the better quality of signings. So we've seen obviously Jesus come in. We've seen that Fabio Vieira, not a clue about him. Apparently he's really good. Marquinhos, another up and comer, but is one for the future. And one which is due to be announced very shortly is Alexander Zinchenko.
I'm annoyed you've got him, to be fair, because I would have quite liked him.
And this is another player I've seen all this passion about. It's like, oh, he's a shit defender, blah blah blah. Well, and it's like, no, whenever I've watched him, he's been quality.
He started his career as a central attacking midfielder until Pep came along, and then he sort of converted. He went out on the left wing. He played defensive midfield, and he sort of played left back as well. But very versatile player. Oh, we've got an injury in midfield. Okay,
for 30 million as well.
Yeah, and he's still like only 24, I want to say. At the
25.
oldest, 25. Yeah, there you go. So I mean, quality player. Best years ahead of him, like in his physical prime, but technically, I think really good. So, and I think having played with Arteta before, he wouldn't have gone in for me unless he knew his quality.
Yeah,
I do feel like Man City are becoming an Arsenal feeder team, but you're just waiting for Haaland in the next like 5 years' time, aren't you?
Well, we've had that's it. Yeah, Wenger will come out in a couple of years and said, "Oh, I could have signed him before he went to Manchester City." And it's like, you weren't even the manager then.
Doesn't mean you couldn't have signed him. The bit that gets me is I'm waiting for Arsenal to spend money on a 33-year-old player that's well past their prime and paying £300,000 a week.
Yeah,
because I mean
that's coming, mate. We've still got 2 weeks of the transfer
so you
window.
never learn your lesson. So I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Does the transfer window close before the season starts this year?
I don't know. Let me just Google it. Talk amongst yourselves.
See, and there's another idea which I see the other day, which I did quite like, but you can't really. It would be impossible to work. So the idea was that every club keeps their transfer business sort of behind closed doors. There's no unveilings. There's nothing until like a week before the season starts, and then there's like this huge Premier League show about what transfers have been done, and every player gets unveiled. I thought it's quite a good idea. It sounds very Americanised, but it would work with the pre-season friendlies and things like that.
Do you understand how a draft works?
Yes.
Right. So I was
talking about like an
an
NHL draft or an NBA draft out of college.
Yes.
Sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about what would you do to kind of mix up the transfer window, because obviously, as we've seen, the rich clubs, or even if they're not rich, spending millions of pounds on players who they may or may not be able to afford.
Yep.
And it does then again make the more wealthier clubs stronger, as you just mentioned. But I think last year was one of the closest seasons that we've seen throughout the table. Do you think to make it more interesting, the Premier League would benefit from something like that?
I've thought about this before. I don't think it would work because of the way the sport's set up. So in like the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, the American school system sort of feeds into it. So they have their big colleges, and the worst teams get the first pick, and unless they're traded for it and there's monetary value in that or extra picks. The football pyramid doesn't quite work like that. So there's no real feed into it. So I think it would make it more even, but then you have to stop the sort of the promotions and the relegations, so it takes some of that excitement out of it. The thing I think would make it more interesting is a salary cap.
Yes.
So I'm not saying for every player. So you could spend, I don't know how much people spend a year on, let's say £100 million a year on salaries. And that sounds ridiculous, but 11 starters, 11 backups, so a 25-man squad. So if you had 100 million, you could have 2 players that were could exceed that or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the best of the best, it gives that drive to, like your Haalands, your Mbappes that everyone wants. You're not limiting their potential, but they've got to be one of these particular players that are like registered outside of your salary cap. And I think that would make it more competitive, but I don't think it'd ever work.
No,
bit like
it definitely won't work because... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it's a bit like the financial fair play is written to benefit the big clubs. You can spend X amount of what you bring in. Well, the big clubs bring in more than the smaller clubs, so you can't ever compete on that same level because I can't buy the same quality of player that you're buying because I can't afford the wages. I can't fit it into that financial fair play without being punished. So you're limiting the smaller clubs, and the bigger clubs get bigger and bigger and bigger. Because I've brought in 6 high-profile signings. Okay, my global reputation becomes bigger. I bring in more money, which means next year I can spend even more. So it's written for and by the big clubs, I think.
Yeah, it was a good. Did you know it is one of those things that made me think, what could we do to make it more interesting? Now, talking about big clubs, that kind of nicely segues, considering we haven't got a script or anything or a plan for today's conversation. Another topic that come up yesterday, I think it was, when I was listening, is what do you define as a big club? Now, I heard some very good arguments about this, but also heard some absolute drivel when you had people calling up and asking. I just wanted to get what your take is on what defines a big club.
That's a very, very good point, but I think there has to be a distinguishment between a big club and a prestigious club.
Okay.
So, for example, Derby, you could say for where they are now in League One, are too big for that league because the amount of fans they draw in every week. But in terms of are they bigger than Manchester City? No. I think this is really difficult. So I know what I want to say, but I think it comes to quality of the club and the players that you play, like quality of the football, what competitions you're in currently, like consistently bringing in 30,000+ people. You could say, okay, world reputation. Sort of, could you go to Namibia and go, show them a club badge, who's this? And they know who it is. I think that has something to do with it. I don't know why I chose Namibia. That was just the first country that was obscure that came to mind. But then you have like prestigious clubs. Leeds, I would say, used to be a big club. They're a prestigious club because they've got lots of history, but not a big club. They do meet some of the criteria. They bring in big crowds. They have a unfaltering support from their fans, but the quality of football they play and the competitions they're in, they're not a big club. They can get there again, but I don't think it's a God-given right. Manchester United, very prestigious club. At the minute, are they a big club? No. They're on their way back, sort of trying to work there, but the quality of football, the competitions they've been playing in, they're a bigger club of the Premier League, but not a big club. Do you know what I mean?
So you're saying you've got prestigious club and then big club?
Yeah. So
above it, is it right? Okay.
So the prestigious club is that has done well historically. So Derby, I would say, is a prestigious club because Champions League, things like that. West Ham, you could say prestigious club. I wouldn't say we're a big club. I mean, I'd say we're massive, but
they're the exception. So you've got prestigious, big club, massive.
Yeah. So no, but what I'm saying with West Ham is we have a big fan base. We sell the most season tickets in the league every year. That's since we moved into London Stadium. That's a fact. So the support is there, but the quality is getting better. But I don't think it's good enough to say we're a big club, because if we were, we'd be finishing in the top 4. We're a big club.
Okay.
We play with broad shoulders. Do you know what I mean? Chest out and all that. You're not.
Do you know what? I think over the last, over the explanations that were given, like I said, there were some really good responses, and I think I'm not just saying this because I'm obviously talking to you on our channel. I think that is the best answer that I've heard, and it's one that makes sense as well. Now, I was trying to work out whether Arsenal were a big club. Now, one of the guys that phoned up yesterday mentioned that there's only 2 big clubs in the Premier League at the moment.
Man City.
I'll give you 3 guesses. Yep. Yes, exactly.
And I would put potentially Chelsea. Chelsea I would class as a big club at the minute.
Okay.
They're not top tier big club, but if you put all the like European clubs in, they would be in the top sort of percentile of clubs.
Okay. So his reasons being were, in order to be classed as a big club, is that you need to be seen to be winning things, and basically, it was a Manchester City fan phoning up and saying, "Well, it's the competitions you play in, and it's the volume of attendance and the trophies that you've won."
Yeah.
That was his criteria for what a big club is.
Yep.
Now, if we put that against the model which you've just said, obviously one of the presenters on there is a Manchester United fan, and he was saying, so what you're saying is Manchester City have only been a big club since they first won the Premier League in 2012, I think it was. Yeah. 11, 12. So they've only been a big club for 10 years. And he was like, well, no, because you've got to take into account the history. We were massive, like, way back then. And the argument was, well, no, that doesn't obviously meet your criteria. The fact that you've got to be relevant, winning stuff, blah, 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 blah. Liverpool, are you saying that up until the point where they won the Premier League a couple of years ago, does that mean that up until then they weren't a massive, they weren't a big club?
Yeah.
Manchester United, are you saying that then they're not a big club? Now, what this guy's argument was because Manchester United haven't won really anything notable in the last 10 years. Obviously, they've won the Europa League and an FA Cup, I think they've won.
Yep.
That it doesn't, or they're not a big club.
Yep.
Now, if you take it in the context of which you've put it in, i.e. the prestigious club and then a big club, it makes more sense. So for me, I would put Arsenal in a prestigious club, but not currently at the big club level.
I would put Arsenal, Manchester United in the same sort of category. Very prestigious clubs, and I would put them as sort of I would probably title them as like a fallen giant. Both got ability to win things, we know that. Both very, very, very strong support around the world. But the quality of football that's being played recently and the calibre of players that are being brought in and things like that is not at the top level. You're not competing at the top level. The old double top. But like Newcastle, another one.
Sorry,
very prestigious club, lots of history. Lots of unwavering support, but they're not a big club. They might get there with the backing that they've got now, with financially, but not a big club. Could be. There's nothing to stop anyone being a big club. In Burnley, Burnley are the big club. In the world, Burnley are not the big club. They're not a big club. But in Burnley now, do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I think you have to look at it, and I would have said Manchester City are a big club. They're not a prestigious club. Because, okay, they have some history back in the day, but it's not the same club as what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say they won enough and were dominant to be a prestigious club. Do you get what I mean? In 10 years' time, when they've won a number of more trophies and possibly a Champions League or some European stuff and more FA Cups, they'll be a prestigious club as well because they've got that sort of trophy haul behind them. And same as Liverpool, very prestigious club up until recently, probably the third year that Jurgen Klopp were there, weren't a big club because the quality of football they were playing weren't great. They weren't winning. If they had a bad day, they'd get smashed. Now, if they have a bad day, they might draw or lose 1-0. It's not a...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That on their worst day, they're still better than most football clubs there.
Yeah, they'll probably go 2-0 down and think, oh, is this it? Is this going to be the game? And then they somehow manage to get a dodgy Mohamed Salah penalty and a last-minute equaliser. But I know exactly what you're saying. And like I said, I'm not just saying this because obviously I'm presenting with you, but that is the best explanation, I think, for what is a big club for me. And I think if I was ever drawn into that conversation, that's exactly the argument I would use as well.
The best bit about it is, say, I'm not usually very eloquent with stating what I'm trying to think, and I usually ramble on a lot. And the fact you hadn't given me a heads up on that was totally off the cuff. I like for that. Maybe that will lead us to do a tier list of the Premier League as a big club, small club. Maybe that's an idea. There was something that I thought was interesting. So over the last, we're talking of Manchester United being a prestigious club. Over the last few years, they've had a number of managers, but the only consistent part of that team is David De Gea. Eric Ten Hag's come in. I don't know if you heard about this. David De Gea got the ball. He had a couple of options to pass short, and he hoofed it. Absolutely hoofed it up the pitch where there's no need to. Turn over possession. Eric Ten Hag, you hear him from the sideline saying, David, what the fuck was that? I don't think he's going to be tending goal for very long. I think he's the consistent part of Manchester United that has been for the last 10 years, I suppose. Ain't going to be there. And I think they've already loaned or sold Dean Henderson. So I think Manchester United might be in for a new goalkeeper soon.
Yeah.
I don't think Ten Hag's going to be happy with the hoof it. And that might be because he's not confident by passing it to Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
It could be that.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation
absolutely.
they need to have. But, yeah, I can see Manchester United with a new keeper soon.
Well, I see a video of them doing. I don't know. You've probably seen it where they're doing some training drills or something before they went on their pre-season tour or whatever, and you hear Ten Hag say so many mistakes. To be fair, I from what I've seen, obviously they played Liverpool last week. I think it was last Thursday. I think they played Liverpool and won 4-0. And granted, obviously Jurgen Klopp, I heard, changed the formation and the players on the pitch every 30 minutes to obviously give people a bit of a run out. But all of a sudden, you've got the Manchester United faithful coming out saying, this is our year, we're going to win.
They're not going to win the league. But did I not say at the end of last season, it might have been a couple of weeks ago, I think Liverpool are going to falter this year. I think they're going to really struggle. Because they've got rid of Mane. I mean, Firmino's not playing as much. They've made a couple of big signings. Have you seen the quote from the Benfica chairman?
Is this about
Darwin Núñez?
No, I haven't.
So essentially, he said we understood they'd already contacted us to say we were interested in Darwin Núñez. They'd sent some scouts out to watch him a few times. So they were prepared to sort of receive this £30 million bid, and they were like, yeah, we can do that because we've got some really good young strikers in our academy. So 30 million, fantastic. The bid come in for £100 million with add-ons, and they were all sitting around the table just laughing. And they went, yeah, okay, not a problem. And it was the quickest deal apparently the club has ever done. But they were like, why have they offered the 100 million for him? Why have they not come in lower? And he was just laughing about it because he couldn't understand why they'd done why they do business like they've done business.
That's madness.
The fact that he said,
and from what I've seen, he's had a bit of a shocker as well in
he
pre-season.
statistically is a really good striker, but being statistically a really good striker in Portugal, playing for one of the big two clubs, is very, very different to playing Premier League football.
As we found out for the last few years.
And he has potential. He has potential, but as we know with strikers, it's a confidence game.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get a quick few goals, which I don't think he will, because he's going to be playing with where Firmino was playing. So Firmino's not going to be feeding the ball. Mohamed Salah refuses to pass to anybody. Jota will be trying to score goals to get his place, and so will the other geezer who they signed in January. I can't remember his name. Luis Diaz.
Yes.
He will be trying to get goals as well. So I think they're going to struggle for goals. Lots of goal scorers, no creators. Firmino and Mane, both possible. They're both really good team players.
Mm-hmm.
Milner is not a good team player, but he's past it now. I know he's fit and he's not going to be able to compete week in, week out at the level he has been for the last 57 years.
58.
Oh, sorry. Sold him short.
No, I get your point. I'm. Do you know what? I'm actually so excited for this season. And now, obviously, just coming. I'm purely basing this on from what I've seen in the pre-season friendlies, and I know it's very, very different, or it's going to be very different going into the Premier League. But I don't think I've been as excited for a start of a season for a long while. Obviously, we had the issues with Aubameyang last year, kind of went off the boil a little bit. Kind of continued into the start of the season, his disciplinary issues, and then leaving in the January. Where was we going with that? But we're now getting players that appear to want to A, wear the shirt, and B, will do anything for that team. And I haven't felt this positive about the start of the season. I could probably go back and watch every kind of pre-season video that we've done, and I've said exactly the same thing. But I think this is one of the, or not the year that we're going to win the Premier League or whatever. But I don't remember being this excited for the start of a Premier League season.
So just based off of what you said there, being very excited, where do you see Arsenal finishing? Obviously, we've got another show before the start of the Premier League, so this could change. But where do you see Arsenal finishing?
Currently fourth.
Okay.
And there's method to my madness on this one. I think we're still a couple of signings away from being a really good transfer window. I think we need another winger and another midfielder. Okay. And I think that would be a lot of the positions that we've had issues with covered.
Yep.
Obviously, we saw Nuno Tavares last year. I think he's a player that's got massive potential. And with the rate that Kieran Tierney gets injuries, I think the pressure was, or A, he wasn't used to the pace of the Premier League, and B, he's young and inexperienced.
Yep.
And wanting to do well. And obviously we see him substituted off a couple of times last year and he didn't take that well. However, we've seen some other players embrace the changes that have been brought in and have made a big impact.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Now, the reason why I think we will finish fourth is because I think the gap in quality between Liverpool and Manchester City last year was so big that I think it may take another season or two to kind of close that gap.
Yep.
Whereas for the players that we've signed in, they're all young, or they're young-ish, early to mid-20s, the bulk of that. So I still think there's still that level of maturity which needs to develop. And I still think we're slightly off the pace of that. And I will go down as Man City top.
Yep.
I think Chelsea will finish second and Liverpool third, and us fourth.
That is very close. I've gone Man City top, Chelsea second, Arsenal third, and then I think it's a shootout, and it'll be very close between Liverpool, United, and Tottenham for that fourth position. And I think Tottenham will pip it. I really do. I think Jurgen Klopp's gone at the end of the season, if not before. That's my prediction for this year.
Well, as you said, we've still got one more show to do. But that, as things stand, with the current signings that we've got, and it depends on who we get out as well. I think will be may change my predictions, but yeah, that's where I'm going.
Very good. Okay, I think maybe we should wrap it up there, and then join us for the last pre-season special, the week before, Monday before the season kicks off, with all of our sort of transfer summary sort of thing, thoughts on all the season going forward, and yeah, something else special, I'm sure.
Let's give a quick shout out to the Lionesses as well. They're playing Spain this evening.
Yeah, doing quite well at the minute. Doing quite well at the minute, but maybe we'll recap on that, because I think the tournament was wrapped up by the time we next thing, so we can look back on that as well.
Cool.
All right, well, until next week, I've been Ian.
I've been Mike.
Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Thanks very much.